website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Evening. I'm Darrell Seasholz, Chairman of the Eastland Peter Township Planning Commission, calling the meeting to order. Also present this evening are Jerry Huskin, to my left, Randy Patterson, myself, Sarah Ryder, Jason Dagan, all five of the Planning Commission, and then Colin Seasholz, Director of Planning, Dave Sinopoli, Zoning Officer, and Alicia Hare, Administrative Assistant. Are there any individuals on the Zoom? So presently we don't have anybody zooming into the meeting, so all those that are present are here in the room this evening. So thank you. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. We can all stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is approval of the minutes of the August 9th Planning Commission meeting, and Lee each received the updated version this evening on the table. There were some we'll call them typographical adjustments to the new business under A. A few changes. So having that version, are there any other comments on the August 8th Planning Commission meeting?
It looks like you
Hearing none,
picked up all the things that I noticed in the revisions, so I have nothing to say, so I'll make a motion.
So look for a motion to approve the minutes. I believe Jerry Huskin made a motion. Do I have a second for that motion? We will give the second to Jason. So all those in favor say aye and raise your hand. Aye. Aye. All five in agreement, so it passes unanimously. Next item is old business, none this evening. Under new business, 5 properties, 525 Greenfield Road. Preliminary final subdivision land development plan. Good evening. Don't know if the mic is on, if you could check and.
Is it on? Yeah. Thanks. Good.
I don't think so.
Is
There's
it
a
on?
switch on.
Okay. Alicia says it is.
All right.
The meeting is recorded, even though we don't have any Zoom, we do record the meeting, so thank you for using the microphone. You can identify yourself and.
Yep. I'm Dave Bittner with RGS Associates and Mike Rush from High Properties. So the property in question is located at 525 Greenfield Road. It's essentially right with the area, which I'm sure you are, is directly across from where the sheets is that was installed 2-3 years ago. And currently on the site, there's a PNC Bank and then also some offices that are on the second floor of the building. That building is being proposed to be demolished, and then in its place will be a coffee shop, as you can see on the plan here. There's 2 existing entrances which are being maintained. The one to the south, we're not changing at all. The one to the north, the curbs are getting aligned a little bit, but in the same location that it was So not making really, as far as the access and now, not making any improvements or changes to those access points. Stormwater on the site, we're actually having a slight reduction in the pervious area. But we still have a stormwater facility underground to manage the volume requirements of the township. Water and sewer connections are both going to be. There's an existing sewer connection that we're tying into. The existing water connection actually comes in more in the middle, where we're moving that to a new connection up to the very close to where the sewer connection is. So we have several waivers. Well, consolidating a couple of lots. Right now, we have parcel that the bank is on. We have a parcel rear of that, which includes small sliver of land for here that is provide access point to that lot. And then we have one. So as part of this plan, that the bottom line is getting access to the rear lot is being essentially removed, consolidated part of the private land. Then private one lots of bigger are also consolidated one lot. Won't have the front of stuff. It's not a file. So I don't know if anybody has specific questions. So we do have several members.
Is that large sign on that one property?
The sign,
Okay, and that remains there.
yes.
Let me flip that over. Thanks. As you go through the.
Well, we do have a review letter from Dave Miller dated September 2nd, excuse me. And you have a copy of that, I assume. Okay. And I believe that covers all of the waivers. The first one is preliminary plan, waiver of preliminary plan, and the recommendation is to grant that and go with the final. So it'd be a preliminary final plan. The one thing's not mentioned here that all the preliminary plan requirements also should be met as part of there'll be a preliminary final plan submission. Okay. So both requirements are going to be met on this. And the recommendation is to grant that. The plan scale is the second item for a waiver, and using different scales for clarity and exhibition purposes, and a recommendation is also to grant that. Third item is in regards to sidewalks within the property, and you're in agreement, it's my understanding, for sidewalks as recommended in the site, with the exception of the sidewalk to the southern portion of the property.
This line of work, so that it ordinance requires sidewalk. So we're just asking for modification of that part. There, it doesn't provide access. It's not beneficial.
Are you including any curb stops, or I mean, wheel stops in the lot to prevent the folks from driving on the grass? Or-
It's the parking lot is curved.
Oh, the parking lot is curbed. Okay, so it is curbed. All right. So the recommendation, based on what you said and what was previously provided in the letter, is to grant that also. The next one is in regards to sidewalks on the public street. And I believe that is, that's to not eliminate sidewalks, but to not follow the 1 foot grass.
Yeah, it's a location sidewalk, so we're required to put all the right of way. It's part of the right of way. Central right of way. On the side of the sidewalk, where Lawrence requires 3 point put on the side of the was presented for the side. A couple reasons for that, a little bit more separation. Greenfield Road is now developed. Secondly, there's several facility signs, stuff like that. Grass area there, so just trying to locate those and cause other issues.
The northern part of the site, this short piece of sidewalk to the north of the northern entrance, that piece. That's a rather steep area there. Is that, I guess there's going to be some grading to get a level sidewalk in.
Yeah.
And then that adjoins the Hampton Inn property where there is no sidewalk. So is the Hampton Inn property, is that also owned by High? That is, so you won't need permission to, if you have to grade on there.
Right, yeah, and I mean, we're fine. Down to this.
Okay, well, you took me to my next concern. And there's stairs there, so there is not handicapped accessible walkway between this new facility and Hampton Inn. And the short piece of walkway that potentially could be added, but then there's no walkway over there. They'd have to come through the driveway. They get over. So that sidewalk currently will dead end.
To get your question on this sidewalk, we do have it, just on the plan, but it is graded relatively flat. I think the grade changes the requirements of the football. So we're able to get that graded balance.
And then I believe you cover sidewalks later then again. On 4 with the public street and the 1 foot. And the next item or next comment 5 is in regards to improvement of existing streets, which talks to Greenfield and I believe
Yeah,
Hempstead.
these are in reference to 525 Greenfield Road.
in reference to 521.
So the project that we have is lots of essentially asking for deferral of those requirements for the roadway and sidewalk improvements. I know Hyatt has an extensive sidewalk plan that they're working on now. I believe, what is that one still? Process being installed along the 520 road, the corner of the intersection. Okay. So that was regards to that.
Okay. And then the next item 6 was also in regards to Hempstead Road for curbing and a deferral request there. Both of those are recommended for granting by our engineer based on the information provided. I believe there, so a deferral agreement would be required for both of them. As you were talking, I guess previous plans didn't have any reference to a deferral, or no deferral was submitted.
So we have a plan that was which did have and so that'll be amended essentially for this plan.
Yeah, the comment our engineer had, apparently there was never a deferral recorded. The 2 sites you mentioned, that's the Armstrong or the vacant Armstrong property. Yeah, apparently, or at least they didn't find it, so I don't know one being recorded previously. So it may have been granted. Their comment says that it does not appear a deferral agreement was previously recorded. So full will have to be done now.
Yeah, I hasn't. Working.
And then next item 7 is in reference to load ratio of volume control facilities. And with the justification provided, the recommendation is to grant the proposed ratios. And item 8, the minimum diameter of conveyance facilities is to be 15 inches. The request is to modify it. And you had 2 requests, and I think they missed one in their reply. You were asking for a 12-inch corrugated plastic pipe in the parking lot area and 8-inch in the drive-through lanes.
It's requesting to utilize a 12-inch in the parking lot area, 8-inch in the. Yes.
And their recommendation is only on the 8-inch. I think that was just an oversight. So whomever makes the motion, if they want to include the 12-inch for the parking lot area, I think the recommendation would be line them with your recommendation. And the last one is just to all the waivers and deferrals shall be noted on the plan. Under subdivision and land development, there were 6 comments. Do you have any issue with any of those in complying?
No, we went through those and reviewed them and we don't have any issues.
And then stormwater management, there were 3 items. And
Yeah, we don't have any issues. The first one, we actually, since you wrote this letter, we do have the ENS approval from the conservation district. So
okay. And then we also got this evening a letter from HRG in regards to the sewer authority. And you've seen that dated tonight?
yes, yeah, I think I got that on Friday. We're going through those now.
Okay. So it require compliance with those items. We also have a letter from Lancaster County dated July 1st. Any concern with their comments?
No, I don't have our response letter to DMA, but I believe we had addressed those with the last submission.
And I think the PNC bank sign's already gone.
The structure's still there, but the sign's gone.
And the building, wasn't there, yeah, one out front, or is that the removed? Okay. So it also takes compliance with the 9 comments in the county. Anything to add from your side?
I don't, unless you guys have any additional questions, I'd be happy.
Any questions or comments from this side?
You said a coffee shop. What is this, a chain or an independent coffee shop? Or is it secret?
Chain that's not on the east side of the city. A chain that's not on the east side of the city yet.
Yet to be disclosed.
So the one question I have, I guess, is with everything that's been going on with Chick-fil-A and everything. I noticed a number of vehicles that you have on your plan here
Yes.
as just the potential number of vehicles that could line up to the takeout window. I guess my question is, have you studied potential traffic flow at that exit point? Because everything else lines up. So the Hampton lines up with Enfield and the other entrance and exit lines up with Sheets. this one's just a little bit off. And I'm not worried about right-hand turns. I guess I'm more worried about left-hand turns because that's a turning lane for Enfield Road. And I'm one of those people who moves over as soon as I get past Sheets. So I'm just a little bit concerned about the traffic flow at that particular exit point.
Yeah, High has engaged or did have a traffic consultant that they did, traffic. It's kind of an abbreviated study, traffic evaluation. Provided. So I don't know that they looked at the specific turns, it was more on the overall traffic count analysis to show under the requirements for one traffic study. But yeah, I don't know, not analyze that specific turn. I mean, it probably has in here how many less than this.
I mean, most people are gonna pull in there before they go to Greenfield to work. They're gonna turn right anyway, as opposed to turning left. But yeah, somewhat.
As a total.
But I've been experienced, not just witnessed, but experienced a few potential accidents at Enfield and Hampton. Because people are having to look both ways to come out of both those turns. So that's my only concern is having a left and a right exit out of that point. If it's a coffee shop, it's probably a little bit different for me than if it was a fast food restaurant, where the turnover would probably be higher. But I know certain coffee shops have a fairly high drive-through rate. So it's a concern, I think, something that needs to be watched and potentially addressed at some point in time if it shows to be a concern.
Yeah, I think in this case, exactly, but this maybe can utilize those in the morning with people that are going to the Greenfield Corporate Center. So hopefully, at least in the peak hours, they can go to the north. Not everybody, the majority. I would assume. Go.
Yeah, it's just a very congested place with the Sheets there, people turning left out of Sheets to go down north on Greenfield Road. Yeah. I usually drive through Greenfield to come out someplace else.
Well, yeah, to follow, I had a similar concern, but I've driven through that area more than once, and it's not unusual in late afternoon that it's backed up in the traffic light back past Enfield. And I've already stopped short of Enfield to let people coming from Sheets to do a left turn, so they can do a left turn. There's many that do left turn. So I've done that more than once, and then it's backed up. But also Sheets has at their exit no left turn during certain hours of the day. I think it's 4 to 6.
Yeah,
And I think that will,
can't remember the city.
yeah, and it may be a similar, was Randy saying, watch it, but it may be a good choice to limit that during peak hours. Which I don't know if the traffic study has identified those.
Yeah, I know there was an overall traffic study for all of Greenfield that's been done and updated. I don't. And some of the improvements, I don't know. Make a lot of improvements to the Greenfield intersection that I don't know if it would address all these concerns, but we'll I think the intent is to pull some of this traffic off the building. From the project.
How many cars can the drive-through lane absorb?
Your plan showing
16.
your plan showing 16. But
Yeah, that is one.
there is only one drive-through, right?
Yeah, so right now there's one driveway, there's a second one that if they. Expansion there, if we need it. Hopefully 16. It's much more than is typically provided. Drive-throughs.
Well, I've been through drive-throughs. I've never seen cars that close. Uh, you might get 12 in there. You're pretty much, counting bumper cars.
Right.
I mean, and I get what you're showing, but yeah, I tend to space out a little more. Yeah. And
Yeah, the challenge on Greenfield Road is the turning lane. If it didn't have the turning lane, having one lane in both directions wouldn't be the issue, but that turning lane becomes a lane for people coming out of here now. They're going to turn into the turning lane, especially between 3 o'clock and 5:30. And then they're going to sit in the turning lane, which will impede people coming down North Greenfield from turning into Enfield. I think you need to look at something at that time frame of when Greenfield starts to let out until maybe it's 4 to 6, maybe it's the same time frame that requires a right turn only out of that. I think it's something you're going to have to watch because it's already a little bit of a traffic nightmare. Walnut Street extension will help that, I think, to a great extent, but because I don't think you're going to have the backup to Enfield that you have now once the Walnut Street extension is in. So that's why I'm not saying I don't think you absolutely have to do something now, but I do think you need to watch it. And I think the township needs to watch it.
yeah, I was concerned about not extending the sidewalk onto 521 for that short piece to the drive, because there is sidewalk on the other side of 521's driveway. But with all the comments we've been making now, hopefully not you combine those lots. I'd seriously look at eliminating that access to Greenfield and put any access to that property off of Hempstead
Where? For 520.
on the 521 site. Because of all the concerns we've been expressing in regards to the driveways on this 525, 521 is that entrance exit is even closer to the traffic light and even more engaged in that center,
Sorry about
the existing one there. Because I was going to promote getting the sidewalk continued over there because there is sidewalk over and up around the curve. But at the same time, I'd say get rid of that and let it be deferred until the future when that 521 is developed. And hopefully, without disclosing any, hopefully that's in the plans somewhere in the near future. And I'm assuming the outdoor patio will have some seating or tables of some sort. I'm just a little confused why the bike rack is. I'm not sure how you're gonna get to that bike rack without a lot of interaction. You're gonna go right by the door, if that is a door where it's punched out. I think you need to look at a
Yeah,
better
maybe.
location for the bike rack. That seems, having done some bicycling, that seems to be, it'd be very convenient for the bicyclist to pull up there, watch their bike, go in and get the coffee without having to lock it. But I think it can be rather hazardous to people coming in and out the door. So the bike rack is a little concerning, the location. It's great you have it, don't get rid of it. I was just trying to figure out how they would get there anyway. Any more ayes or comments on the plan? If not, any questions from your side? Faith? If not, I'll look for a motion. In reference to High Properties 525 Greenfield Road plan.
Is there a plan number?
He wasn't here last month, so I used to make up for it.
Yeah. Is there a plan number?
Yeah, Colin, do we have a plan number?
Okay. So I will make up for last month and make a motion on the land development plan submission for High Properties at 525 Greenfield Road. With the recommendation to the township supervisors that the plan be approved as submitted with the following comments. Approving the recommendation for a waiver of a final with the condition that all conditions of preliminary and final be met. That a modification be approved for the scale, both for 525 and 521. They're two different scale sets. That the request for the modification for sidewalks within the parking compound be granted. The request for a modification for sidewalks along the public street within the right of way be granted. That a deferral be approved for any existing street improvements to meet township specifications for 521 as well as curbs for 521, with the understanding that a new deferral agreement will be submitted to the township for its review and approval. That the maximum loading ratio modifications as requested be granted. That the modification for minimum diameter of facility pipe be granted for a 12-inch pipe for the parking lot and an 8-inch pipe for the roof drains. Only the roof drains were identified in the DMA letter. That all conditions of subdivision land development and stormwater management as identified in the September 2nd, 2022 letter from David Miller Associates be complied with, as well as the 9 conditions or comments, I shouldn't say conditions, 9 comments from the Lancaster County Planning Commission dated July 1, 2022, and the comments from the East St. Peter Sewer Authority in a letter dated September 9th of 2022.
Did you, well, we have a motion. And we have a second. Any questions? Did you want to add any comments in regards to ingress, egress for Greenfield as part of your motion?
I don't think it's at a point of approval or denial for that. I think it's something I would ask the township to, particularly the police department, perhaps to monitor just traffic conditions as well as high to see if any changes need to be made there, particularly during rush hour. But I won't make it part of the formal motion.
Anything in reference to the bike rack?
You're going to move the bike rack.
Thank you.
I will put that in the motion.
So, relocation of the bike rack has been added by Randy to his motion. Thank you. So we have the motion and the second. All those in favor, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
5 in agreement. Thank you. Appreciate your time. Next item on the agenda is the Diener Country Restaurant, 2855 Lincoln Highway East, for a waiver of land development.
Also looking to put a village shed for the surface of the back part of the parking lot. Looking for I did update, I went out and measured exactly what, without knowing where the stakes are. We'll look at the edge of the driveway, on the edge of the field, on the west side. We have the 7 feet setback. And on the field side, we have the 12 feet.
Okay. You're looking at the north is this way. We don't have a north, this, we're all on the same page. So north is from right to left. East would be the top of the sheet. You're laying it this way. You have it the other way. Flip it around. Yeah. Okay. That's like Route 30 is out here. Okay. Route 30 is here. So that would be the south side. Yeah. Back here is the cornfield. Okay. Yeah. And then is the driveway on your property or on the neighboring property? That goes back to the.
I'm not sure, I went by this driveway.
I wasn't sure.
No,
And you're putting an 8x12, proposing an 8x12 storage shed aside of the 2 dumpsters that are back in that corner now. Comments? Okay.
There's a fence that actually defines that.
Yeah, I was out there today and wasn't familiar with the site, so I became familiar. So, and there's a fence that comes over and actually returns a short piece, and then there's another section of fence this side of the 3 propane tanks. And on the backside, yeah.
doesn't exist. It's what that.
So it would be in there.
Oh, it doesn't.
No.
exist.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, actually, it has twice. Okay. Gotcha.
Right there, yeah. And it appears there was room. I looked at this sketch. Is this a current sketch or an older?
Last edition, they did in 91.
Okay. So it should be, but it isn't. I mean, not to. From looking at Google Maps, and which is why I went out to see it, because it showed up different than this. Your location of parking is actually further back, and I did some drawing on my copy here, but it's actually further back in the angle, but it appears there would still be sufficient room to get the shed there without taking a tape measure, which is what are in the comments here. And it looks like there's some more parking, and the handicap parking is not as shown here. There's only one space there, and the first one coming off of Route 30 doesn't exist. The second one is there. And then there's one to the left of that as you're coming back the road. There's one to the right, one to the left. So, but thank you for coming in, because normally we don't see these, but since it's a commercial property, we're here.
Yeah, I will be restriping, so. Probably next year.
Do you know Matt, how many parking spaces, excuse me, how many parking spaces you have? Okay. I forget what the numbers are, but check them, and you need one for the first 25, I think two for up to 50, over 50, you need three. So check as you restripe things. Two may be sufficient. When I was there today, you were probably 90% full in the parking lot, which is great. And there was probably 15, 20 people sitting out front, I think, waiting to get in, which is good news for you. But I saw a lot of people with walkers and handicaps and stuff. And actually, even the one parking space, handicap space wasn't being used. They were parking in other ones. So, and part of that is for handicap spaces, they are to be painted, which these both are on the space, but a sign's also required. And you're actually showing a sign. I think that's what these two arrows at the top of the sheet, the text that's not there, it probably say signs. But yeah, so you to be in compliance with ADA, you need a sign and the paint. So take a look at that since you're in, yeah. And your tree, which I think you were well aware of, that existing tree is there. You actually, well, you have a couple of parking spaces now, and that's for the handicap crosshatch area. So if you can update, yeah, if you're gonna paint and redo your lines, don't use this plan. Work from it. So you know what you're doing. Yeah. And I think the other is, do we also need to talk about stormwater management?
No, that would not apply to,
That would apply to
this.
a lot of paved surface.
and even if it did, it wouldn't be something this. big.
It's small, 'cause
Speak
it's-
about,
it's
right?
less than 1,000 feet.
Right.
Okay. So,
Just.
like the lady that was weed whacking today. Yeah. Yeah, she was weed whacking around the edge of them.
Did you have breakfast there this morning?
Actually, I was there this afternoon,
Oh,
probably about 2:00. About 2:00. And then I got a phone call. My grandson was looking for me, so. But, so I left, but, and it was busy. Congratulations, but yeah. But I guess it's, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, so as you see also. got commission from the owners. Nothing to do with this. That ownership will be purchasing the property from the Kings coming September 30th.
Where's that from?
It's the restaurant property, the store and the book shop.
yeah, we had this letter that, yeah, Lamar King is the actual owner of it, but you said John, right? And this is John Peter, so you're leasing, renting this,
Releasing.
so he,
Paid it off. It's that fun.
so he's the operator, but the owner concurred with. Yeah, well, you know that whole, yeah, legal. So. Okay. So we do have a review from staff. Current restaurant. I guess operator with consent of the owner. Wishes to add a shed to the rear of the property. Shed will be placed over existing asphalt and will not impact any parking spaces shed will meet the setbacks for an accessory structure in the village commercial zone. And the setback must be 15 feet on the side and 20 feet on the rear. And the recommendation, well, without one, but the comments are such that it appears available from staff review. So, any other discussion, comment? If not, we'll look for a motion on the Diener Country Restaurant, 2255 Lincoln Highway East waiver of land development request.
Yeah, come on, Sarah.
I'll make those. Leaders Country Restaurant will be requests for a waiver of land development. I'll make a motion that we recommend to supervisors that we grant the waiver of land development.
So we have the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Here's none. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
All five agreement. Thank you for your time. Good luck.
It was Sarah's turn. I did both of them last month. So.
I noticed.
Yeah, that's right.
They're all easy. Okay. So last of the new business, we now have 3 briefing items that I believe Colin is going to enlighten us on what we may see in the near future.
Sure. The first one is Paradise Energy Solutions. They're a solar energy contractor. They install and sell panels and whatnot. So their whole facility will be located at this location. The second one is the Church of the Nazarene. They're
Excuse me, does everybody know where this is?
Levin Road and Lincoln Highway East.
It's down pretty much as the end of East Lampeter Township. The township line's pretty close. Currently, I think there's 3 structures, barn-like structures on the property. And this is the entrance to the, what is that, the campground?
Yes.
You go back the road, the campground entrance goes in. So I'm imagining those 3, I think one's pretty much like a mini barn structure. And a couple others on the site, but it's at the edge of it, near the edge of East Lampeter Township on the east side. Oh. Yes. Country Acres Campground, and this is the property here. So the road that ends now, and they're looking for the cul-de-sac. And these buildings will be
That's a residential development to the northeast.
Yes.
Northwest of that, okay. But just one row of houses.
Yeah.
And then the rest is a campground.
What's this zone? You know?
I think it's VC. Yeah, it's Village Commercial. They did come in for a text amendment earlier in the year, which was approved, which is allowing this now.
Okay, I was thinking there was something we called it
Mhm.
before.
Correct.
Okay. So that was addressed with the text amendment. Okay, got it. Thank you, Colin.
The second item, briefing item is the Church of the Nazarene. I believe it's located at 2150 New Holland Pike. There is a church on the property as well as a single family dwelling in the corner of the lot. They're simply drawing lot lines around that dwelling, and they're going to piece that off onto its own lot. They are making some improvements to the access drive, so there's a little more macadam, but it's really just drawing lot lines around the house.
The access from Shireen Road.
Yes.
Okay. So at the rear of the property.
Mhm.
And nothing's being done actually up in the Holland Pike side.
Nothing. They're just drawing lot lines, correct?
There's lot line on the
Mhm.
parcel. Landlocked except for green.
Yes. I believe the pastor used to live there. He no longer does, but they're looking to sell it and just get rid of it, so. Right now, I believe it is, there is, I think there's a chain beyond the house, so nobody can go up to the church, but yeah. It'll remain chained after this is complete, so. The, yes.
The third item.
Third item is a big one. So we just completed the amendment to the south. I think I meant to include my memo in there that kind of outlined the major changes, but some were significant. So we updated that. We're looking at this, you'll probably see this next month with adoption, probably sometime in October with the Board of Supervisors. One of the main changes was we took out all the technical specs out of it and made it its own document. That way we can update it and amend it as needed instead of having to go through this whole process every time a PennDOT reg change or something, we can just update as needed. But other than that, that's pretty much, that's the major change.
I didn't know whether you intended for us to read the whole thing or if there wasn't.
Well, yes, I do expect you, Randy. Yes, I do. So.
Yeah. The same,
Yeah,
yeah.
I will send you that memo beforehand. That way.
And our role was a recommendation to the supervisors, or
I'm sorry.
do we have a role? other
Yeah, so
than
this is
seeing
an
it?
amendment. It'll have to go through the same process as any other text amendment or plan. You'll have to recommend or not recommend approval.
So, as presented to us or any changes we may think would be appropriate, we can
Okay.
offer for their consideration. Well, we can have, maybe we continue this once we adjourn. Is thank you, Jason. I think there's similar concerns, but any other briefing?
No, that was it.
So other business, we have none. Any announcements? None at this time, so I'll look for a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second. Second by Randy, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All five in agreement, thank you. So moved.